Have you ever wanted to create your own action figure? Well, in this video, I will take you through the journey of an idea I had 2 years ago, all the way to creating this action figure, and then created an entire action figure line, got it successfully funded on Kickstarter and into production, set to release later this year.
Yes! Hell yeah!
My name is Marko.
Hello!
And this is Creating Legendari, episode 3. If you missed our earlier episodes, feel free to catch up where we dive into the Nibiru, the alien species central to our comics and action figures, and a deep dive on the Spite Usurper figure that we covered in episode 2. Today we're diving deep into building an action figure and focusing on one of my favorite characters,
the Voidwalker.
This figure is 7 inches tall, highly detailed with custom soft goods and a full range of customization with interchangeable accessories that can pop and swap throughout the entire line. I'm gonna break down my thought process in creating this character and talk to you guys about the 4 things I consider when building an action figure. Now, before we get started, I want to let you know that all the figures you're going to see in this series are available for pre-order. So if you want to learn more about the figures and how to get your hands on some, check the link in the description below. And as an independent toy creator, your support means so much to me, so I really appreciate it. All right, now let's get into it. Now, the first thing to consider when making an action figure is the design and style of the figure. When you're beginning to create your action figure, one of the most important things to consider is the scale, because this is going to determine the level of detail that you can add to your action figure. We chose to build 7-inch figures because this size allows for greater detail and improved articulation, making the figures more dynamic and realistic. This larger size also gives them a stronger display presence and fits in nicely with other collections you may have, like Marvel Legends and the Star Wars Black Series. You can really enhance the visual interest of your figure by adding a variety of textures. We did this on the Voidwalker by including soft goods like a leather cape, diverse patterns on the armor, and a combination of hard and soft plastics. When we began sculpting this figure, we underwent several refinements throughout the design process, progressively enhancing the level of detail at every stage. Sculpting for action figures often requires you to exaggerate the details, and you do this to compensate for any type of loss of detail in the printing process. Now, this first image that you're seeing here was the original sculpt before adding tertiary details. You can see we enhanced the design by adding skin textures and veins to the arms, intricate leather and cloth patterns on the pants and cape, and textures to the bone in the skull mask and shoulder. Additionally, we incorporated detailed patterns on the chest armor to enhance the figure and ensured all of these elements are pronounced and visible on the final printed figure. The next thing I always consider is the articulation of the action figure. We wanted the Voidwalker to have interchangeable parts, so we carefully considered the articulation as we designed parts to complement the overall look, ensuring that the articulation seams were hidden for a cleaner appearance. For example, this belt was designed to serve 2 purposes: adding additional flair to the figure with pouches, gadgets, and a set of knives that give him even more character, and to also hide the seams of the crotch of the physical figure to keep him looking aesthetically clean. The shin guards, which are also removable, nicely hide the articulation seams in the knees and follow the articulation lines of the ankles, so every design decision we made for this figure was extremely intentional. This figure has 17 points of articulation and includes pinless disjoints for the elbows and knees. A pinless disjoint is a type of articulation mechanism used in action figures to eliminate the visible metal or plastic pins that typically connect the limbs to the body or to other limbs. This design provides a more seamless and aesthetically pleasing appearance, and these joints can provide a wider range of motion, making it easier to achieve dynamic and realistic poses. The third thing that I consider when making an action figure is the backstory and lore. Every great character you love has an epic origin story, and storytelling is a crucial component in the Legendari figures, because I'm passionate about creating dynamic characters and an immersive story world that we've been building for years through our comics. I wanted to create an emotional connection with each character. Now, this approach was vital when creating the Voidwalker. I try to ask questions like, is he good or is he bad? What does he stand for? These insights help shape the appearance of the Voidwalker and the accessories that we equipped him with. Let's start with the name Voidwalker. So the Nibiru featured in our story world are interdimensional travelers. They harness advanced technology to move through multiple dimensions that we call the chain worlds. But the Voidwalkers possess special abilities to move through space undetected, with the ability to access dimensions between the chain worlds known as the Void. Now, Voidwalkers operate outside of the Nibiru norms, serving as spies, thieves, and assassins. And so I pictured him being very stealthy and decided to include silent weapons like knives and his signature tonfa blades, since I envisioned this character as someone who operated in the shadows. Now, leaving the mystery behind the character is something that's always intrigued me, and some of my all-time favorite characters throughout movies and comics are faceless. So I wanted to create a signature look for this character whose identity is hidden. And so I decided to create the figure with a hood and a cape with his face concealed with a mask. In our lore, a Nibiru must go through a series of trials to prove their worth and become a Voidwalker. Only then can they earn the iconic skull mask. So I wanted the mask to look cool, but also have significant importance in our story world. The Voidwalker is a mysterious, powerful figure walking the line between hero and anti-hero. And this duality influenced everything as we explored different color combinations and different types of weaponry. Planning a vast universe also guided my design choices. Since the Nibiru come from an advanced civilization, I wanted to add futuristic armor with tech gadgets onto his utility belt. Understanding the world the Voidwalker inhabits also helped determine the type of technology that he might use, ensuring that his gadgets and weapons seamlessly fit into the story world. Next was the decision to create one of the arms in a solid gunmetal, a feature that evolved throughout the design process. And so this design choice piques interest into the backstory, which we'll explore further in future comics.
All right, and the last thing that I consider when creating action figures is the weapons and accessories.
Here you can see the Voidwalker has 4 sets of hands. We have grip hands, a fist, an action pose, and resting hands. He also has the signature skull mask, which we talked about earlier, that can clip onto the jawline. He has a cape which is completely removable. We actually explored a few different options of soft goods when designing this cape before going with this leather style cape. And then we weathered the edges of the cape to give it a worn and torn effect. There are also 2 types of hoods that come with this character. We have the hood up, which you see here, and we also have a hood down feature. So if you just wanted to display the figure a little bit differently and kind of show off the skull mask, you're able to do that as well. After we prototyped this character, we wanted to make sure that the cape and collar sat really nicely and centered on his chest. So we actually went back and created a plug on the center of the chest. And what this allowed us to do was to take the collar and snap it right into the chest plate, allowing that to kind of fit really nice and snug and not have that cape be moving around. He also has removable shin guards, and if you were with us in episode 2 for the Spite, that also shares that feature. We did this so all of the shin guard pieces throughout the line would be able to be interchangeable with each other, and then as we create new accessories in the future, we'll make sure that they're compatible with this figure. We wanted to create a signature look for this character, and we had the idea of creating these double blade tonfas. And here are some of the original sketches and designs that we were playing around with before selecting our final design. And I actually went through a ton of different weapons and drew inspiration from a lot of cool stuff that I found online when I was creating my mood board. So one of the things that truly makes this line unique is that it was designed with customizers in mind. Our figures come with removable accessories and pop and swap features. Now, all the limbs were made to swap within the line. So that meant when we designed the Voidwalker, we also had to make sure that nearly every other design in the entire collection would be compatible at connecting articulation points like the elbows and knees. So that means that you can essentially even change out arms and legs out with other figures, which involves a little bit more muscle to assemble, but is totally doable. Now, maybe you're not a seasoned customizer, but you do want the flexibility to change your figure. we actually created 2 different head packs that will work perfectly with this figure and with our army builder figures, which I will talk about in future episodes, which are already all set to go with easily removable arm guards and shin guards for customization. We know that many of you love to take customization to the next level, so we wanted to make it even easier with a 3D printing integration. In the future, we plan to provide 3D files of blank pieces, like the forearm guards or the shin guards that we talked about with the Voidwalker. You'll be able to sculpt your own designs on top of these pieces and know that they seamlessly integrate into the entire line before you go to 3D print them. So then you guys can focus more on the creativity and less on the engineering. We really wanted to empower the customizer community and create action figures together and create a collection that everybody could have ownership in. And so we're so excited to see what all the incredible customizations that you guys are gonna do with these figures. All right, if you made it this far in the video, then you are a true action figure enthusiast. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Voidwalker. I'm really trying to share new insights each week as we break down different characters in this line. There's so much to discuss, and it's actually hard to mention everything. So I'm trying to be as thorough as possible while we break down each figure, and then try to bring you different types of information about different stages of development. Please leave me a comment if you have any questions about this figure, and I'll be sure to try to check in and include them in future videos that we make. And next week, we are gonna cover one of the most popular figures in the Legendari Action Figure line, which is the Eternal Guard. This thing has an almost 12-inch wingspan loaded with really awesome weaponry, and honestly, in person, it has such amazing shelf presence, so I can't wait to dive into that. Stay tuned. And again, if you are interested in any of these figures or want to know how to add them into your collection, check the link in the description or head to our website at metatravelers.io. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications for our latest content. All right, I'll see you guys next week.